it's Hilary Cragg here. Thank you so much for listening to this video. I'm really grateful that you do. I'm going to talk today about mixed dementia, and if it's useful as well, I've done some other videos on Alzheimer's and vascular dementia, as well as Lewy Body dementia, which is the three mixtures that I'm going to talk about today. So they may also be useful, and once again, thank you very much for listening to those two. So mixed dementia, the most common two that mix together is vascular dementia and Alzheimer's disease. Now I've gone in the other videos, I've gone into a little bit more detail, but Alzheimer's disease is a protein, or it's two proteins that actually come into the brain and damage the brain and shrink the brain, and it's common that one of the most common symptoms to do with dementia, Alzheimer's dementia, is to do with a forgetting and a lack of understanding. With vascular dementia, that's little mini strokes or damage in the brain that can affect any part of the brain, because it depends where the stroke is. But what it does is it kills that little bit of the brain, and then the brain has to either adapt or eventually that function is lost. But it can be, it can vary how that presents, because it depends which part of the brain is damaged. And then slightly more unusually, you can also sometimes get a mix in with those two of the third one, which is dementia with Lewy Body. So I've also done a video about that. Now that's again a different protein. It is the clues in the name, the Lewy Body protein that comes into the brain. And what scientists are finding is that actually quite a lot of people with dementia have these various proteins in their brain. So they have the proteins associated with Alzheimer's, and they have the proteins associated with Lewy Body dementia, but they may not necessarily have had the presentation that goes with Lewy Body dementia. So in the research that's happening at the moment, they're really trying to understand how the various symptoms and presentations that can happen in the brain then affect how people will function, and how they live with that dementia, and how that will present. So vascular dementia, as I said, is this death of certain parts of the brain. Again, commonly it can be to do with forgetting, whereas Lewy Body can be quite different in some ways. So there can often be quite a lucid part of the day. People with Lewy Body dementia very often do what's known as sundowning, and that's getting confused at the end of the day, which isn't particularly well understood. They understand what happens, the medical professionals and the scientists, but they don't understand why it happens, and therefore there isn't really a cure to this at the moment. And the other common trait of people living with Lewy Body dementia is that they will hallucinate, and commonly animals, and commonly quite distressing hallucinations to do with animals. It doesn't they don't have to have those hallucinations, but that's a very common trait, and that would be a good indication that that person's dementia is Lewy Body dementia. So when you take that along with the presentations to do with Alzheimer's, which will also have interacted with each other, and then you may have these vascular events that are happening, you've got a very complex picture of a dementia. So if you think that is relevant to you, then obviously seek medical advice. But I hope that is useful, and I've done some other videos going into more details on those three specific dementias. So thank you so much for listening, and I hope this is useful. Bye for now.